Tonight, 4 hurt in a new farm unit blaze. A neighbour rescued from danger. Severe heatwave warning, parts of Queensland to hit 45 degrees. A family home raided by an armed and violent gang in middle of the night. Kamala Harris meets her match on live TV as America's election campaign enters its final stretch. A warning for shoppers chasing a bargain while we're being told to use cash, not card, this sales season. And city cats become city dogs. Bluey and Bingo take over Brisbane's ferry fleet.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Samantha Heathwood.
Good evening. 4 people have been injured, including a firefighter, as a new farm unit block erupted in flames. One resident was trapped on her balcony, fearing for her life, until brave locals rescued her.
A unit block disappears into a cloud of smoke as an explosive fire breaks out.
Bangs and booms and like a bomb went off.
I heard something like explode and that's the smoke going everywhere.
4 people injured, others needing to be rescued as this major emergency unfolded. This woman among those trapped.
I think I might die because there's no way I can escape because I don't know how to jump. So that's why I was running around in my balcony.
Heroic locals rushing to her aid.
One of them jumped into my balcony, then grabbed me and passed me on to another man.
Donna, another neighbour who made it out safely.
My mum and dad's ashes are in there. I have my puppy dog and that's it. I've now lost everything I own.
Paramedics assessed 11 people at the scene, 4 taken to hospital.
1 patient with burns to their arm, 2 patients with smoke inhalation and a 4th patient with heat exhaustion.
That patient, a firefighter, one of the first to rush into danger. In the end, 1 unit was ravaged by flames, 5 others damaged by smoke.
At this stage, fire investigators believe this blaze was sparked by an electric scooter left on charge inside one of the units.
The culprit, this tiny lithium-ion battery which combusted. Tonight, praise for the fireys and locals whose quick thinking prevented this from claiming lives.
For those guys to safely get in there and do what they did, I'm really proud.
As displaced residents tried to get back on their feet.
Tonight, all 4 people injured in that fire are in stable conditions. They include 3 residents aged in their 50s, as well as that firefighter aged in his 30s. Emergency services say it really is remarkable that we're not talking about fatalities in this instance, given the ferocity with which that blaze took off today. Sam?
Michael Hammond at Hurston, thank you. A manhunt is underway tonight for 3 men wanted over a violent home invasion on the Gold Coast. Let's go live to Paige Van Lunteren. Paige, a 25-year-old was stabbed.
Sam, he suffered injuries to his hand and arm during the ordeal. Forensics was still at the Arundel home this morning collecting evidence. You can see in this video an officer roaming the street with a torch, but the trio they were searching for had already fled in a car.
We've been living here for 2 years and it was safe.
Another neighbour today told us it's not the first time the home has been broken into. Police are still waiting to formally interview the victim, but at this stage they say there's no threat to public safety.
Paige Van Lunteren, thank you. Well, the Weather Bureau has issued a severe heatwave warning with large parts of Queensland set to sizzle this week. Let's get more from Michelle Jensen. Michelle, temperatures will be well above average.
Yes, by as much as 11 degrees, Sam. The heat is expected to hit Western Queensland first, then spread to southern and central parts by the middle of the week. This is how Wednesday is looking. Broadly, maximums are expected to be 3 to 6 degrees above average, but over in that brown patch where Birdsville is, it's more like 10 degrees with 45 degrees forecast there. In that same region, the fire danger rating will be extreme tomorrow as high temperatures combine with gusty winds. And the southeast is also heading into a hot week. Those details soon, Sam.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, the Prime Minister has vowed to slash debts for millions of students as he starts to lay the groundwork for the next federal election. It will save graduates thousands of dollars, but critics say those who did not go to university will be paying for it.
Anthony Albanese.
The election still months away. Sounds like the campaign's begun.
Inflation is falling, real wages are rising. Back-to-back budget surpluses and restored trade for our farmers, our growers and our winemakers.
The PM in Adelaide, in front of a crowd of Labor faithful and behind a new slogan.
Building better education for all. Building more homes for Australians.
Deputy Richard Miles targeting the opposition.
Australians will be worse off with Peter Dutton. Bullying and blocking instead of building. Wrecking and whinging instead of working.
And today's big pitch to voters.
A re-elected Labor government will take 20% off student debt for everyone who has one.
And 3 million Australians do, for the average debt of just over $27,000, a saving of around $5,500. It's a key issue for the Greens, demanding it should be cut now instead of July next year.
Student debt relief should not be dangled as a carrot or held hostage to the result of the next election.
The opposition labelling it unfair.
All Australians will pay the price. Where is the $16 billion going to come from?
Economist Chris Richardson welcomed yesterday's raising the income threshold for repaying debt as sensible, but called today's plans to wipe 20% of it.
Absolutely be reverse Robin Hood. It'd be taking money from people who never made it to uni, giving it to those who did. It'd be dumb.
Labor also promising to lock in more fee-free TAFE places, 100,000 a year from 2027.
Building Australia's future. Thanks very much.
Today's rally described as a political reset for the government, coming as the polls have gone from neck and neck to Labor falling slightly behind, plus a week of scrutiny over flight upgrades. The promise to cut student debt seen as appealing to younger voters especially, who may have been leaning towards the Greens. More of these events are expected in the coming weeks as Labor makes its case for a second term. Sam?
Paul Kadak, thank you. A 17-year-old girl has been hit by a car and a man assaulted in minutes of mayhem near Webcke. Anna McGraw joins me from the newsroom. Anna, a ute was seen driving dangerously in the lead up to the crash.
Well, Sam, police say the white utility was doing burnouts on the rural road at Homebush just before 10 o'clock last night. It created a lot of smoke on the road and the driver of a red Mazda 3 lost visibility before hitting the teenager on the side of Homebush Road. Now, police say shortly after, a group of people approached the Mazda and assaulted a 53-year-old man who was a passenger. Sam, he and the 17-year-old girl were both taken to Webcke Base Hospital for treatment.
Anna McGraw, thank you. Well, the Premier has apologised to a small North Queensland community on behalf of the former government. David Crisafulli travelled to Youngalla, earmarked as a site for Labor's controversial pumped hydro project.
A visit from the Premier for the residents of Youngalla.
Not being a traditional LNP voter, but yes, I'm quite happy with that.
David Crisafulli had a message.
I wanted to say sorry to them on behalf of the government and to let them know that they do have a future.
Delivering on his promise to scrap Labor's Pioneer Burdekin pumped hydro scheme, dozens of landholders west of Webcke had already sold off. Today, an invite to return.
We would begin the process to allow them to buy back into their little piece of paradise.
The project cost was due to be skyward of $12 billion and prompted protests over native species.
The Labor government did not care.
The former Energy Minister warns its loss will come with consequences.
Without storage, it means that David Crisafulli will be burning coal here in Queensland indefinitely.
And leave Queensland's clean energy transition in doubt. The Premier has only revealed one site for his smaller pumped hydro projects.
Large industrial energy users will simply leave Queensland.
We are serious about progressing Barumba.
After being all but silent since the election, the opposition's shadow cabinet is expected to be announced early this week, still waiting on the count in Aspley. The former Transport Minister remains in contention, trailing the LNP's Amanda Cooper.
Are you hoping for a shadow ministry?
Oh, look, it's early days yet.
8 days after Queenslanders cast their vote. Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
2 people have died after a fire ripped through a home west of Gladstone overnight. A 42-year-old man and a 47-year-old man who lived there were both unaccounted for. Emergency services made the grim discovery late this afternoon. One of America's most successful political families is being urged to vote against Donald Trump. Former President George W. Bush asked to endorse Kamala Harris by the family of his former Vice President Dick Cheney. Tim Lester reports on the final weekend of campaigning as the celebrity endorsements and surprise cameos ramp up.
Gosh, I wish I could talk to someone who's been in my shoes, you know?
This impression, the closest Saturday Night Live has come to Kamala Harris. Until now.
I'm just here to remind you, you got this. Because you can do something your opponent cannot do. You can open doors. I see what you did there, like to a garbage truck, right? I don't really laugh like that, do I? A little bit. Now, Kamala, take my Pamela.
A surprise appearance on the American TV institution.
And live from New York,
as more big-name entertainers speak out in fear of a Trump comeback.
I wrote that song shortly after the insurrection of January 6th.
Also spooked, the man who stared down snakes in far-off lands.
When dozens of former members of the Trump administration are sounding alarms, saying, for God's sake, don't do this again. You have to pay attention.
But one endorsement the Democrats want, they can't get.
I can't explain why George W. Bush hasn't spoken out, but I think it's time, and I wish that he would.
The only living US president who's not yet backed a candidate, Republican George W. Bush staying silent, but not his former White House spin doctor.
So this morning I re-upped my question to President Bush's office. An advisor said he's not going to insert himself into this political moment.
Madam President, thank you for making this.
3 days.
Vice President.
I appreciate that.
That will go my way, sure.
And not if a Republican challenger has anything to say about it.
Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here.
The two camps tracking one another so closely, they parked alongside each other.
The campaign's final few days are awash with rallies, but already almost half the total expected vote is locked in. 72 million Americans have already voted.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
I like him a lot. I like that he speaks his mind, and he's a God-fearing man, and I can see the Lord working through him.
He's a real man, and no wars, no inflation, very little inflation. Our borders are safe. He's good for the whole world.
There's no room for hate here. We have to do better for our children, for our women, health care, our elders.
The other candidate is cuckoo for Cocoa Pops.
The campaign's now all out to win the dwindling number of voters still yet to decide. In North Carolina, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Tonight after the news, join Michael Usher for a special edition of Spotlight covering the race to the White House. And 7's live coverage of the election count begins at 11:30 Wednesday morning. It's taking an army to help the recovery effort following Spain's worst natural disaster in living memory. Locals had been angry they'd largely been left to face the clean-up on their own. But now 10,000 troops are being sent into Valencia's flood disaster zone.
In this family home that stood for more than a century, belongings accumulated over lifetimes are tossed to the street.
That's my brother. One of my brothers, he passed away in an accident. Everything that belonged to him, we had it here.
Esther Meyer's grandfather built this home. It survived the 1957 flood. Nearly 70 years later, her mother faced a second inside it.
That was agony for all the time. We didn't know anything.
For 24 hours, Esther and her husband didn't know whether the 94-year-old suffering dementia was alive.
That was a nightmare, actually.
5 days later, they haven't told her what transpired here.
If you break that sort of news to them, that they could cling to that. There could be one thing that they cling to, and that could just finish them off.
This is the kitchen, the heart of any home, particularly here in Valencia, the birthplace of paella. These are the traditional cast iron pans used to cook it on traditional ovens for generations of family members sharing together. Now they've come again, this time from different parts of the globe, not to share food, but to help rebuild.
A volunteer army doing the work many families wish the military would.
We feel abandoned. There are many people who need help.
This week, 2,500 personnel were deployed. Only today, a further 10,000 were sent in. Specialist searchers confirming 211 deaths, many residents believe, were avoidable. In Valencia, Ben Downey, 7 News.
20 years ago, Wicked made its stage debut. Now the movie version of the musical is set to hit cinemas. Angelique Opie is at the Yellow Brick Road premiere in Sydney.
Ariana Grande plays Good Witch Glinda in this highly anticipated film, and just moments ago she arrived here in the city. Wicked has certainly cast a spell on Sydney with a lineup of star power. No coincidence that Oz was chosen as the first stop on this press tour to promote a story about the land of Oz. And I can't quite believe it, I got the chance to meet them a short time ago.
This is I can't talk about it. It makes me really
very emotional. When we pulled up, I just didn't expect.
I mean, the material, our friendship, just what we learned from each other, and
we used to say that every day was a big day. No day was a small one.
No day was a small day. No.
There are 2 parts to this story. The first will hit cinemas on November 21.
Armed and on a mission. Next, watch as intruders raid a family home. 5 children asleep inside. Exclusive video. Surprise gig, a sacked NRL star back on the tools. A warning for shoppers on Black Friday sales traps. And the satirical Joe-era magazine hopping back into print.
An unbelievable natural spectacle.
Oh my God! The news team that never stops.
They will only keep their new jobs if they can deliver results.
The race for the White House in its final days.
It's the glassware that's vanishing faster than a fresh pour.
7 News.
A mother of 5 says she fears her sleeping children were about to be killed when a gang broke into their home in the middle of the night. Security video shows at least 7 masked men armed with an axe, machete and golf club raiding the Melbourne property in a minute of mayhem.
I'm thinking my kids, they all die because the way when I saw them ran out from the house.
The home had been ransacked and cars smashed. One of the boys inside chased after the gang. Sacked Bulldogs star Josh Addo-Carr has hit the tools in a major reality check after having his contract torn up just days ago. As he attempts to revive his NRL career, he posted to his Instagram account that he's taken on a labouring job on a Sydney building site. It comes after the star winger returned a positive test to cocaine during a roadside drug test in September. A Brisbane-based satirical magazine spawned during the Joh Bjelke-Petersen era has been revived. The Cane-Toad Times has published its first new edition since 1990, covering everything from politics to pop culture.
A blast from Queensland's past.
For the last 34 years, we've been sleeping in the mud and finally respawned this year.
The Cane-Toad Times has been nothing but a memory for the past 3 decades, but today it's been relaunched in the 21st century.
It was a pretty powerful satirical reaction to the Bjelke-Petersen government, and but at the same time we realised that to communicate with people you've got to have fun.
Stephen Stockwell and Johnny LaRue helped bring the magazine to life in the 70s and 80s, covering all the big things in Queensland.
The world needs different ideas, and so by having alternative media, there's a place for those ideas to go and grow.
Had quite a few shows, the biggest of which was Woodstock back in 1990. And then also a radio show on 4MMM called The Toad Show.
After spending the past 34 years working as journalists, professors and graphic designers, the pair wanted to give it another go.
It's really the international situation, and very concerned about the future of the planet, the future of humanity.
The new edition features work from original members of the Cane-Toad Times collective, as well as new young writers and artists.
We'd just like to provide an alternative voice to everyone else.
The first edition is available now online and at several retailers. And as for when the next might be,
As soon as all the boxes downstairs are empty,
we can start on the next one.
Yeah.
Anna McGraw, 7 News.
Expert advice for your healthcare in a cost of living crisis. Why you shouldn't miss your appointments. Details next. We take you to the American town where Donald Trump claimed pets were being eaten. Why Travis Kelce's brother smashed a fan's phone. And Bluey and Bingo take over the City Cats. How you can catch a ride with the Healers.
Looking back at Countdown after 50 years. Do yourself a favour. Flashback 7 News coming up soon.
From the dentist to the doctor, more Australians are skipping essential healthcare appointments, causing a surge in preventable hospitalisations. Experts are warning putting off checkups may save money now, but could be costly in the long run.
Lying down but far from relaxed. More Australians are skipping the dentist, not just because it's uncomfortable, but to save cash.
When was the last time you went to the dentist?
Probably when I was young.
Would have been within 12 months.
Within 12 months?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Maybe about 10 months.
Probably 3 years ago. I think it does cost too much, to be honest.
A decision that will bite. Nearly 90,000 Australians ended up in hospital last year for dental conditions that might have been avoided if they'd sought help sooner.
Significant treatment to replace a tooth or to restore a tooth with a crown, for example, is significantly more, often 5 times the amount of just a simple general checkup and clean.
The trend isn't limited to teeth, with a lack of available bulk billing GPs. 20% skip follow-up exams because of cost, 18% don't fill prescriptions.
In my line of work, we see the bad results of that when healthcare goes untreated.
Delaying healthcare might save money now, but in the long run, the costs, both personal and financial, could be far greater.
We're already seeing the impact of people delaying healthcare. We're seeing those ramps outside the hospitals. We're seeing those huge wait lists.
Pain that's only getting worse. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
The UK Conservative Party has a new leader, with Kemi Badenoch replacing Rishi Sunak at the helm of the Tories. Badenoch becomes the first black woman to lead a British political party.
The time has come to tell the truth, to stand up for our principles, to plan for our future.
The historic appointment even drawing praise from her new rival, Labor Prime Minister Keir Starmer, calling it a proud moment. NFL legend Jason Kelce has been seen exploding with rage when a so-called fan unleashed a homophobic slur on brother Travis over his relationship with Taylor Swift. Kelce was chased down after taking off with the fan's smashed phone before another verbal altercation. The Now TV pundit is yet to comment. It was the presidential debate lie that ignited the internet. Donald Trump's claim that Haitian migrants were eating cats and dogs. That was said to be in Springfield, Ohio, where David Woywood has met with locals who say it's become a top issue ahead of this week's vote.
In Springfield, Ohio, they're still barking mad.
It blew my wig back.
Over a lie picked up and amplified by a former president.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
There is no truth to any of it.
It was a nonsense.
A nonsense that sparked bomb threats, school closures, and a deep suspicion within this community.
And I'm walking with my dog, and I'm just hoping they don't think I'm Haitian and I'm walking my dinner.
That was like, wow. That was like you got hit with a brick.
15,000 Haitian Americans live and work legally in Springfield.
It was unexpected that you'd have that kind of influx of immigrants coming in, but there were jobs here.
Their arrivals stretched city services here. It caused tension, and Trump's comments, they say, only fanned that.
It seems like somebody has some kind of sharp, device or knife, and they keep pushing it through your chest. Our children go to school and get bullied. This is going to leave a scar for a long time.
The salacious and outlandish lies amplified by Donald Trump on that debate stage have long since been debunked. But the hurt caused by those comments Well, it lives on here in Springfield, Ohio.
I was a Republican, but I'm not now.
We may still remain Republican, but we may end up voting the other way around.
Has it hurt this community?
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
It's divided it.
But right now, division is not unique to Springfield. Come here, kitty. In Springfield, Ohio, David Woywood, 7 News.
2 city cats have been turned into city dogs. Bluey and Bingo taking over in a special ferry upgrade. From today, fans can take their ride on the Brisbane River on vessels resembling the cartoon characters. And there's a tip for those wanting to travel in true Bluey style.
There are a number of marine traffic apps that you can get on your phone, and it tells you exactly which city cats are coming, and so you can track.
The city dogs will stop at Hamilton North Shore, where Bluey's World opens next week. More southeast suburbs will soon have access to ultra-fast internet. Who's eligible? Exclusive details next. Shrouded in mystery, the rare World War I artefact unearthed. Margot Robbie becomes a mum. And in flashback, looking back at Countdown 50 years on.
Trump versus Harris. The race is on. On the eve of the US election. Join Michael Usher tonight, 7 o'clock, with an all-star lineup. Piers Morgan, Anthony Scaramucci, Joe Hockey, Barbara Heineback, and many more. As history is made.
Radical left lunatic.
Is too weak and unstable.
All the details, all explained, all in one place. A special edition of Spotlight, tonight, 7 o'clock.
Ultra-fast internet is coming to more Queensland homes and businesses as the NBN expands its network. 123 locations across the state will benefit. In the southeast, suburbs include Buderim, Greenbank, Tamborine and Augustine Heights. The expansion will be complete by late 2025. To check your eligibility, visit the NBN website. A rare wooden cross from World War I, shrouded in mystery, is the centrepiece of a unique memorial to a digger to be unveiled on Remembrance Day. The cross was recently discovered under a house in Melbourne and no one knows how it got there.
Part of Harry is here with us now, I think.
Historians believe it's the only World War I wooden grave cross in Australia outside the War Memorial.
When I saw it all together, make no mistake, I became quite emotional about it.
Harry Conway's mates made it when he was killed in France. He was just 19.
He was shot from behind, very severely, evacuated to a military hospital, unfortunately succumbed to his wounds.
It was eventually sent to his grief-stricken mother, Rosamond, in Melbourne. When she died in 1940, it disappeared.
So this is it?
But 81 years later, found in the garage of Graham Fennell's family home, buried.
Pushed in under there and hidden away somewhere for so long.
His family has no connection to Harry's, a total mystery. Do you have any idea how it got there?
No idea at all.
He gave it to the RSL.
In one word, probably wow.
They've turned it into the centrepiece of a unique memorial to Harry, alongside this medallion sent to his mother, bought and treasured by Harold Muir's family at a deceased estate auction.
That was 1940, and he had it until he died in 2019.
It'll be officially opened on Remembrance Day.
So that we never forget Harry, and we never will.
And I'm sure on every Remembrance Day in the future, we'll raise a glass to Harry.
That'll be Harry's corner for eternity.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Australian actor Margot Robbie has become a mum. The star reportedly gave birth to a baby boy 2 weeks ago. It's believed the 34-year-old went into labour before her due date, and her husband Tom Ackerley has been seen stocking up on baby supplies near their LA home. Well, Black Friday sales are just around the corner, and tonight we have a new warning why shoppers are being urged to use cash, not card, during upcoming sales. That story's just ahead on 7 News. Now it's time to cash in with sport. Here's Webby.
And there's plenty doing it, Sam. Hello, everyone. Our next test opener puts his hand up. Ben Hunt nominates his club of choice. Cameron Smith's Sunday session at Nudgee. But do all the chips fall his way? Plus, the $1 million match. The Lions game with a huge payday on the line. Brisbane native Nathan McSweeney's declared he's ready to be Australia's next test opener. While Pat Cummins gave the biggest clue yet, the Australian A captain's in pole position. His unbeaten 88 against India's second 11 came on a day of controversy.
Australia v India always has some spice, even in the reserves. Hints of tampering, later dismissed.
When you scratch it, you change the ball. All right, no more discussion, let's play. That's a very stupid decision, I guess. Excuse me, you'll be on report for dissent. That's inappropriate behaviour.
Flashpoint averted, more than acceptable, Nathan McSweeney's knock.
And that is 50 for McSweeney, the main man in Mackay.
If the opportunity comes, I feel like I'm ready. I'm real confident in my game, and I think, I'm progressing and I'm batting, some of the best innings I've played.
It's never as clean cut as a bat off. There's a lot of pressure on these last two games. Whether you like it or not, it's probably what you're going to get in Test cricket anyway.
127 for the match. The 25-year-old cycled through the gears.
And dispatched by McSweeney into the deep. One bounce.
A strike rate of 29 in his first dig, almost 50 in his second.
Into the gap for 4, and Australia A with a commanding 7-wicket win.
I think that's the battle with, every batter. You want to be as consistent, and we've seen the guys that get picked for Australia be able to do it for a long time.
He's averaging over 104 with the red ball this summer, but at number 3 or 4.
Where you bat isn't that important. You try and work out how the batting order as a whole is going to function best, and I don't think anyone should be super protective around a certain spot.
Cummins kickstarts the International Summit tomorrow. The opening one-dayer against Pakistan before India arrive battered and bruised by the Kiwis.
And it's all over.
Inflicting their first ever series clean sweep defeat at home. Ben Davis, 7 News.
Ben Hunt has revealed he left the Dragons to enjoy his footy and win a premiership before his career ends. The halfback made it clear returning to the Broncos is first choice.
A Kangaroos player without a club team. After 7 seasons, Ben Hunt couldn't wait to get out of the Dragons.
I think the biggest priority is just want to enjoy my footy and, try and go somewhere and win a competition. Yeah, I'd really like that opportunity to go to a team that, I think can win one.
At 35, Hunt says he has at least 2 good years left, hasn't spoken to a club yet, but there's an obvious preference.
Do you say Broncos?
If I had the opportunity to go finish it would be pretty special. Got to see if that can all work out.
You said the word romanticise. It'd be awesome to have him back at the club.
First things first, the Pacific Championships final. The Tongans are coming to Sydney in harmony.
Job's not done yet. See everyone next weekend, Sunday.
It's pretty cool, to be honest, to see the nation of the people and what they're representing.
Pride and respect in the challenges, a ferocious Adam Fanua-Blake.
Oh, jeez.
Cleared for the final, thankfully for everyone hoping this spectacle can be matched.
He beats them all!
Villains on home turf, the Kiwis charged from 24-0 down to level.
Tapani, a grabber forward, runs towards the tackle of Katoa.
Front rowers aren't supposed to do that. 20-year-old halfbacks aren't supposed to be as cool as Isaiah Katoa.
Just showed so much maturity and why he's going to be an elite halfback.
Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Tuesday's Melbourne Cup won't feature Australia's best jockey after James McDonald failed to secure a last-minute ride. And there's a new favourite following last night's barrier draw, one of the International Raiders, a mission to snatch the cup after 3 years of local dominance.
A final hit out at Werribee, this is the home for international runners in the Melbourne Cup. French gelding Vauban now the favourite for the 2nd year in a row. Harry Eustace trained Sea King has made the journey over from the UK, booking a spot after a debut victory in the Bendigo Cup.
It's all pretty new to him, the tie-ups and all that sort of stuff is very different to how it happens at home, but
He was very relaxed. Bendigo Cup Day versus Melbourne Cup Day have a different feel to it.
Eustace is a household name in the racing world. His brother David won the iconic race with Gold Trip in 2022.
Winning it isn't something we've sort of let ourselves consider just yet, but as I say, it's a huge race to be a part of.
Brian Ellison has had his fair share of bad luck racing in Australia, with a number of runners previously scratched at the last minute. One smooth operator passing yesterday's vet test after failing a day earlier. There's one more to get through tomorrow. But after his 7-year-old gelding had a convincing Geelong Cup win, he's daring to dream.
Hopefully win the Melbourne Cup, and that'll be good as well. We'll see.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
The Lions have missed out on $1 million payday despite a huge win to finish the home and away AFLW season. St Kilda provided Brisbane with a handy tune-up heading into next week's qualifying final against the Hawks. A 6-goal third term from the defending champs put the contest to bed.
Ruby with some brilliance. Oh, great goal!
It was a tough game physically, which is actually good preparation. So coming into high-pressure games that finals are.
The Lions sweating on a potential penalty for Dakota Davison, going high, then retaliating. The win meant they had one hand on the $1 million McClellan Trophy for the best performed club. Only Hawthorn could snatch it. They did, beating the Tigers. Cameron Smith's got rid of the rust, tying for third at the Queensland PGA. The British Open winner got within a shot of the lead, birdieing the first and second at Nudgee. But he gave them back after an errant tee shot and drop resulted in a costly double bogey at the fourth. Thanks to his strong short game, Smith hung around but never threatened.
You will not see 3 better chips ever.
Last year, Phoenix Campbell won the title as an amateur, the Kiwi going back-to-back, beating Jack Carter on a second playoff hole. And that is our Sunday sport, Sam.
Big weekend. Thanks, Webby. Well, shoppers are being urged to use cash, not card, during the upcoming pre-Christmas sales. Retail experts say while they're supposed to help us save money, many bargain hunters end up worse off.
Adelaide mum Rachel Rye knows firsthand how quickly the end-of-year sales can add up.
When you're purchasing 10 or 20 items that are cheap, you've blown out your budget.
For years, the 39-year-old spent far more than she could afford, and this time of year was particularly tough.
There's, flashing sale signs in your face constantly.
But when the family found itself $70,000 in debt, it was time to get help.
We do find people getting into strife.
My budget director, Tammy Barton, warns bargain hunting can be a trap. You think you're doing yourself a favour until there's no money left.
A bill comes in or the car breaks down and you've already spent that money because you got a good deal on something that you didn't really need.
And buyer remorse quickly sets in, with a Finder survey showing almost 50% of shoppers have made a credit card purchase they now regret. While cash is no longer king, money experts say if you're at risk of overspending, then use it. This way you won't find yourself owing the bank what you can't afford.
And you go, wow, this money is slipping through my fingers really quickly. I can see what is left.
Physically holding cash can make you feel a little more connected to the spend.
And with saving tips under her belt, Rachel's confident this Christmas will be debt-free.
It feels really good. I know that I can swipe past the sales now.
Gertie Sperling, 7 News.
It burst into lounge rooms, setting the music scene on fire. Next, in Flashback, celebrating Countdown 50 years on.
And it's starting to warm up with a hot week ahead in the southeast. I'll have the forecast next.
This Friday marks half a century since the first airing of a pioneering Aussie music show. Tonight in Flashback, 50 years of Countdown and the soundtrack of a certain generation. Max Butcher reports.
For teenagers in the early 70s, TV was a black and white wasteland.
This is mostly shows for little kids or older people, nothing for us.
But on November 8, 1974, everything changed. A weekly dose of pop culture with live performances, early music videos, and interviews with the biggest stars.
This is David Bowie for Countdown. We shall be talking very shortly.
Hello, this is Bond from AC/DC, reminding you that you're on Countdown throughout Australia.
Suddenly, Aussie kids were hearing directly from stars they'd only ever heard or seen on album covers and magazines.
If you'd like to take a holiday for 5 minutes, then here's boring old Molly with boring old humdrum.
And at the centre of it all, Ian Molly Meldrum.
Fantastic show.
Not exactly a polished performer, but that was the appeal, both for the ABC audience and the biggest stars who became his mates.
Happy birthday, dear old friend.
Often, chaos ensued.
The #1 record.
His most infamous interview with the then Prince Charles.
With the cooperation of Mr. Miller and the Australian... Mr. Harry Miller about the... Oh, no. Can we start again?
Countdown became a Sunday night appointment.
Mum and Dad would sit down with the kids at 6 o'clock, 3 million of them, and watch the show. And then the kids over dinner would explain Boy George and Elton John to the mum and dad.
Through Molly and Countdown, Aussie stars flourished at home. Kylie, AC/DC, In Excess. An accident at home in 2011 scared the music world, but Molly fought back, and this week, Countdown celebrates 50 years. They've even minted a special coin, although these days, Molly avoids the spotlight.
He's still naughty. He's still got that spark, and we love.
The final Countdown aired in 1987. But online, there are plenty of archived performances. If you want to check them out, take Molly's advice.
Go out, do yourself the favour.
Weather now, Michelle. It's heating up.
Sam, yesterday's cooler temperatures were only temporary relief. Today was a little warmer in the southeast, and tomorrow marks the start of hotter conditions. Brisbane was right on the November averages today with 19 to 28 degrees. Overnight, the Gold Coast had a warm one on 21 degrees. And aside from Ipswich, tops were in the high 20s. Those maximums are about to climb. A trough moves into the far corner of Queensland tomorrow. It'll slowly drift across southern parts, dragging hot air from the centre of Australia into Queensland. A severe heatwave warning has been issued for the Channel Country and Maranoa and Warrego districts. Around the country tomorrow, a partly cloudy day and looking overcast in Hobart. Sydney a shower or two, and Perth and Adelaide are both heading for a top of 23 degrees. Back to Queensland now, partly cloudy in the north too, with a possible shower in Weipa, and 23 to 32 degrees on the forecast for both Cairns and Townsville. Across southern districts, tomorrow will be hotter than usual, with temperatures at least 5 degrees above average in Roma, Toowoomba and Stanthorpe. Toowoomba and Stanthorpe also have the chance of an afternoon thunderstorm. In the southeast, maximums will be above average as well, but not by the same margin. The heat will affect inland areas most. Ipswich on 34 degrees, Beaudesert on 33 tomorrow. And zooming into the suburbs, it's a few degrees cooler for most spots, but still these are more like January temperatures. Tops of 28 for suburbs that catch the sea breeze, and then warming up to 32 degrees for Oxley and Springfield. Out on the water, seas increasing to 1.5 metres around midday, with northerly winds at 15 to 20 knots. And back in the city, a mostly sunny Monday with 19 to 30 degrees tomorrow. Looking ahead, Brisbane is expecting 32 degrees Tuesday, and that's when the next risk of thunderstorms returns to the southeast. But at this stage, no severe cells are on the forecast for the city. Ipswich could be in the path of Tuesday's storms. And by Friday, that heat is expected to peak in Ipswich at 38 degrees there. On the Gold Coast, aside from a possible shower on Tuesday, it's a run of mostly sunny days, hovering around the 30-degree mark. And on the Sunshine Coast, again, plenty of sunshine and above average heat, building to 32 degrees by the end of the working week. So Sam, first we had the storms, now we've got the heat. It must be November in Queensland, hey?
Starting to feel like summer. I love it. Thanks, Michelle. Well, that's all from us this Sunday. Thanks for your company. We'll have updates throughout the evening, but for now, from all the team, have a good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.